You found Ask Alice, the podcast that takes a deep dive into the societal currents shaping our lives. I'm your host, Alice, and together we'll explore the often unseen forces at play. We'll examine cutting-edge research, dissect the data, and most importantly, if you're seeking to understand what's shaping our society,
welcome to the
this
deep
is the
dive.
place.
This is where we take your sources, cut through all the noise, and really pull out the essential knowledge you need. Today, we've got two forces shaping healthcare. They seem worlds apart, maybe, but they're deeply connected. One's super personal future medical care. The other, it's global economics hitting, well, the supplies themselves.
That's right. We're looking at healthcare proxies, making sure your voice counts when you maybe can't speak for yourself, and then tariffs, specifically how they're impacting the medical supply chain. It's global stuff, but with really direct patient effects.
Yeah. So our goal here is to see what your sources tell us about both and kind of how they fit together for a more resilient healthcare future. Let's dive in.
All right, healthcare proxies first. This feels like it's all about personal control, making sure your wishes are actually followed. Your sources call it a crucial legal document. What's it do? Who needs one? Yeah, basically it lets you appoint someone you really trust the agent to make medical decisions for you. If a doctor determines in writing that you can't make them yourself, you're incapacitated.
And the sources stress this isn't just an old age thing.
No, absolutely not. They really emphasize anyone 18 plus. Because emergencies, well, they don't exactly schedule themselves, right?
Right. And what's really key, based on the sources, is how the agent decides. It's not just what they want.
Exactly. That's the core principle here. They are legally and ethically bound to follow your known wishes, your values, your beliefs. It's only if, your specific wishes for that situation aren't known that they decide based on your best interests. It's all about upholding your autonomy.
And there are some maybe unexpected benefits highlighted beyond just getting the care you want.
Oh, definitely. A big one is reducing the stress and conflict for families. I mean, imagine trying to make those calls with no guidance. It's awful. Sources actually point to studies showing families have less stress, less anxiety when there are clear directives.
Like a proxy, plus the talks around it.
Precisely. And the other thing, cost control.
That one surprised me a bit.
Yeah, the sources touch on it. If care matches what you actually want, you might avoid some really expensive, aggressive treatments you wouldn't have chosen anyway. Some sources even linked higher use of these directives to lower Medicare spending near the end of life.
But just having the paper isn't enough, is it?
Not at all. That's a critical point in your sources. The human element, actually talking with your chosen agent before anything happens, having those open, honest conversations about what you value, your preferences, that's what makes it truly work.
Okay, now let's shift gears quite a bit to something that feels external but hits home. Tariffs, global economics, local healthcare impacts?
Right. Tariffs, they're just taxes on imported goods. Been used forever for various reasons. But in healthcare, it's a big deal because the U.S. relies so heavily on imports for, well, almost everything. Medical devices, drugs, even the basic ingredients, the active pharmaceutical ingredients, or APIs.
And your sources flag some really high rates on important stuff.
They do. Examples like tariffs up to 245% on certain APIs from China, or say 25% on some devices from Canada or Mexico. And while some medical items got exemptions early on, the sources warn that's not necessarily permanent.
So what does this import tax actually do to the system?
Well, the most immediate thing is cost. It just makes things more expensive. That cost gets passed along manufacturers, hospitals, and eventually you, the patient. Higher premiums, maybe more out of pocket.
Ouch.
Yeah, your sources threw out some big potential numbers like an extra $51 billion a year for U.S. drug costs, or maybe hospitals seeing costs jump 15%.
That must put a massive strain on hospitals, especially if their income is fixed.
Huge strain, particularly for hospitals relying on fixed payments, like from Medicare. Those rates don't just jump up because tariffs hit, so it squeezes budgets really tight. Rural hospitals can be especially vulnerable here.
And generics, too, the affordable options.
Very vulnerable. Generics often run on thin margins already. Slap a tariff on their key ingredients and suddenly making that essential low-cost drug. Well, it might not make financial sense anymore. That threatens availability.
And it's not just about money, is it? Your sources talk about operational problems, too.
Supply chain headaches. Tariffs mess with the flow of goods. That means delays, potential shortages, often of really basic critical stuff, antibiotics, IV fluids. It just makes an already sometimes fragile system even more vulnerable, especially when we rely on just one or two overseas suppliers.
Now, the stated goal of tariffs is often boosting homegrown manufacturing, but your sources say that's complicated.
Very. Building up domestic factories, getting them approved, scaling up, that takes years.
Yeah.
So you get this period, one source called it the valley of death, where you're paying the higher costs and dealing with shortages now, long before any potential upside from more domestic production might kick in, if it kicks in.
So what are the responses? What are people doing?
Well, industry is looking at diversifying suppliers, maybe bringing some production closer to home, onshoring or nearshoring. And policymakers are being urged to push for exemptions for essential medical goods, and maybe incentivize that domestic production more directly.
Okay, so wrapping this up, this deep dive really shows how building a resilient healthcare future takes action on totally different levels, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating. You've got the deeply personal planning, like healthcare proxies, taking control yourself. And then you have to navigate these huge global economic forces like tariffs that impact everyone's access and costs.
Both absolutely critical, according to your sources, from deciding your own care to understanding how trade deals affect, the saline drip at the hospital.
Exactly.
So here's maybe the really interesting question that comes out of this. How do these two things play off each other? If you do your personal planning, get your proxy sorted, does that make you more resilient when the whole system gets shocked by something like tariffs?
Or does seeing those system-wide vulnerabilities, the shortages tariffs can cause, actually make that individual planning seem even more urgent? Like, you really need your wishes known if resources get tight.
It definitely raises a big question. What does all this mean for your next step? How you think about your own health and where healthcare is going?
Food for thought.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into your sources.